Now that we've completed the bouncing ball exercise and you're a bit more familiar with the principles of animation, I thought that it would be fun to put those principles into practice using a simple character. So what we're going to do is make use of the character that we built during the Blender Essentials class. Now if you didn't take that class, it's not a problem. I've added a file to the resources section which you can download, and that will give you everything you need to complete this exercise. Once you've downloaded the file, feel free to skip ahead to the next lesson and get started. If however you want to make use of the character that you built yourself within the Blender Essentials class, then follow along within this lesson and I'll show you how to prepare the file ready for animation. So if you open up the last version of the file that you saved at the end of the Blender Essentials class, there are a few things that we need to do to tidy it up and prepare for this lesson. The first thing to do is make sure that you're on the video editing tab, and we're going to go in and select all of these sequences on the timeline and hit X to delete them. Now I'm going to jump over to the layout tab, and we're going to do a little bit of tidy up of our scene file. So for now, I'm just going to hide the collection that contains the lights. I'm going to select my bird character, hit the period key on the numpad just to frame that up. And then I'm going to right click, go down to the parent menu and hit clear parent. That detaches it from the swing. Next thing I'm going to do is go up to the outliner. I'm going to right click on the frame and hit select hierarchy. That will select all of the elements that make up our swing. I'm going to hit the M key to create a new collection. I'm going to call that swing. And hit OK. That way we can now click on this checkbox and that will remove the swing from the view. I'm going to go up to this filters drop down at the top here and click on the selection icon. That means we can now turn off the selectability of the environment so that we're not picking it accidentally. I'm going to select my bird. I'm going to hit the N key so that I can see my transform values, and I'm just going to reset the location of the bird. I can do that just by hitting the backspace key when I'm rolled over the location. Hit the period key on the numpad just to frame that bird up again. Now if we drag along the timeline, you can see at the moment our bird nods its head. And we're going to want to remove all of these keyframes here. So I can just hit A on the timeline and then hit X and select delete keyframes. Now our animation has been removed. Go back to frame 1. I'm just going to change the end frame of my timeline as well. Just that to 60 frames long. Now with the bird selected, I'm going to go over to the modifiers tab, and you can see that we have these simple deform modifiers that we've added in here. The one that allows the head to turn, I'm going to go in and rename that from simple deform to head turn. And the other one nods the head up and down. So we'll just rename that as well to head nod. That will just make things a little bit easier when it comes to animating. We'll know exactly which control does what. The final thing I'd like to do is just adjust my camera. So I'm just going to hit the N key here, go to the view menu and select camera to view, hit N again, and that will allow us to adjust our camera within this viewport. So I'm just going to reframe this slightly so that our bird is more or less centered up and we've got a little bit of space above it for it to jump up and down. Now in order to control the bird, as we did with the bouncing ball, what I'd like to do is add in a control object. So to do that, I'm going to hit Shift A, go down to empty and select a cube. Now that's a lot larger than our bird, so I'm just going to scale it down. S to scale. Till it's just slightly larger than the bird. And then I'm going to move that up a little bit as well. Until it sits just above the floor there. So maybe adjust that to 0.3. And that looks all right. Then in order to control the bird, we need to parent it to this cube. So I'm going to select the bird, shift select our empty object, and then hit Control P and select object. Now if you look up in the outliner, you can see that our bird was within this collection, whereas our empty's been created out in the scene collection. So what we actually need to do here is select our bird object and drag that up to the scene collection, and then you'll see it's actually sitting nicely underneath this empty object. I'm going to select the empty object, just hit F2, and we can rename that to bird control. The other thing I'd like to do with this control, because we have a scale value already on it, is hit Control A to apply that scale. That will reset everything to 1. Now go up to the File menu, Save As, and then just rename this file Bird Bounce 1 and hit Save As.